Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm gonna be giving you part 19 of What If Naruto failed his Genin test and was given intense training. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was neglected and lost everything over an Anime King 2, and enjoy that guys. And I also posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto was neglected with Josh and Sealing have him over on Anime King 3. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping us support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, as Sakura was happy that Naruto came back, as he brought the food with him, and that strange soup that Sai loved to drink. Up to this day, Naruto still did not understand how could Sai drink something like that. After a moment or two, Jiraiya ended up coming into the room, as he spoke to them, as he was gonna need them to follow him. He was gonna go away for a while though, but after that, they were gonna be his help to take out the remaining Orochimaru forces around, given the fact that they can now storm the land of sound. But by the time he come back, they were supposed to learn elemental jutsu, given the fact that all of them are Chunins now. Sakura was rather defensive about Naruto and her team in a whole, as Jiraiya noticed that. On the other hand, Sasuke had lost his eyes, as Kabuto handed him over to someone who would deliver them to his master. As Sasuke, now without his eyes, feel helpless, hopeless. Like nothing mattered anymore, he just wanted to die. Danzo was summoned by Hiruzen as Danzo made his way inside, as Hiruzen was rather calm about everything until Hiruzen ripped the eye out of Danzo's socket, Shisui's eye, as he crushed it in his palm. Danzo was surprised by it and asked him how, as Hiruzen told him that he never asked for an eye transplant, and he knew that he was behind it. He knew that he was the one that told Naruto to kill all of his opponents, because he saw the look on the boy's face once it was all over, and the boy was sympathetic. He didn't mean to do anything like that, as Hiruzen was gonna push Danzo towards the war front. Despite everything, he could command a large force, so he was gonna be a big help in the war front to take back the other villages from Orochimaru, as Danzo made a sudden threat that Hiruzen would not get away with this. But Hiruzen seemed to be as calm as ever as Danzo left the office. With that, the group came in as they were promoted to Chunins. With that, they made their way towards the library, where they spoke to Homura there, as the man said that he knew Danzo, and Danzo was currently in the front lines, as Naruto had wondered why the man had just vanished like that, but he wasn't told about anything. Sakura also ordered the tapes of Chunin exams that she wanted to see, as she invited Naruto over to her house. As they were watching it, the brutal scene came up when Naruto was ripping Tintin apart as Sakura rushed towards the bathroom, as she started to puke, as Naruto thought that she was puking because of him, but it wasn't because of him, it was because of the things that she witnessed in the forest. They were popping back in her mind, as Naruto ran away, as Sakura searched for him until she ended up towards Yujiro's house, who told her to calm down, and that Naruto was fine, and that she needed to calm down, she just had to speak with him. So Sakura waited by Naruto's door, as being a Chunin now, he got a new apartment, a lot better than the old one that he used to live into, so he no longer have to, well, be a bother to Danzo. As Naruto went towards the grave, and got the things that his father left behind, as he saw Sakura there, as the girl was cold, waiting for him, as he brought her inside and she was tired, so he placed her on the bed, as she was hugging his jacket, so he took it off. As Naruto went to read his father's notes, something startled him though, as if he kept on pushing and using the fox chakra so raw and potent, it would take years off his life, as the fox told him that a couple years is already gone. As Naruto was shocked by that, all this time he was wasting years off his life. As Naruto cursed at the fox who told him next time that he wanted his friends to be safe, do it him damn self. As it was also a powerful seal in his father's notes, a seal that could absorb everything. Even more precious and more powerful than the Hiroshin. A rare seal from the Uzumaki clan was quite dangerous. So yeah guys, that's basically that's where left off. You guys can switch across the play check for yourself so as to begin this new episode. After just realizing that the fox chakra was taking years off his life, Naruto got up as he drank a bottle of milk, half of it, as he then went to take a warm shower, as he just stood there and let the water wash over him. Once he was clean, he came out, as he settled a small frog cap on his head, as he just slid down on the sofa, without even unfolding to turn it into a bed, as he grabbed a blanket and covered himself. Just like when he was younger, if he lay motionless, people wouldn't attack him. People wouldn't come in and curse at him to scare him. But how? How could he hide from something that was inside of him? It wasn't above, it was inside of him. As Naruto did not know where he fell asleep, but he smelled his shampoo. As he opened his eyes to see green eyes looking directly at him, Sakura looked pissed. "You left again," she said. "I didn't," he said. "You weren't there," she said. "I was in the next room," said Naruto. "It's not like we're sleeping together. Tigers don't sleep all the time in their hut." "This is your hut, right?" "It's a house, assigned by the Hokage," said Naruto as he tried to stand up. But she pushed him back down. "Hey," said Naruto. "No, you're not leaving again," Sensei said that we have to talk. As she slowly moved herself above him, placing her knees on his stomach, as he was actually thankful for that, given the fact that she was not directly sitting right on him. "So, we talked," she said. "About what?" said Naruto. "You scared me," she said. "Not with the exam, not with the Kyuubi, not with what you do, but when you leave and look at me with those eyes of yours." As her hand went up to grab his black hair, but it was already blonde again. "Those sad eyes of yours," she said. "I can't stand them, and you always leave. You leave without telling anyone. You have to tell us where you're going, Naruto. I was scared, because you didn't tell me." "Sakura, are you alright?" said Naruto. He asked, because right there and then she didn't look all sane. "I'm fine," she said as she stretched like a cat, and she held on to his shoulders, as she then brought her head down playfully, and bit him on the neck. "Hey," said Naruto as he pushed her back, as she laughed as she got to her feet. "No biting," said Naruto. "Why not?" she asked. "Do we have to go somewhere today?" "No, but let's play then," she cut him off, as she tackled him as he fell right on the ground, as she rolled with him on the floor for a while. Wait, don't you want breakfast?" Sakura stopped as she was trying to climb on his back once more, it seems, with him on the ground. "Alright," she said, as she got to her feet as she started looking around the kitchen. As Naruto sat up, just what was going on with her? She was acting playful like a cat. Was this a consequence of her training? His face then darkened. The next moment he had sworn that he would find who did this to her, didn't he? And once he did, he would make that person pay. As he began breakfast by chopping the vegetables, as he started to fry the rice, while still cleaning the fish, as he slapped her in the back of the hand with a wooden spoon as she was reaching towards the raw fish, as he kind of imagined her with cat ears and a tail. But he still managed to create a proper breakfast. "Sakura," he said, "what's gone into you?" She looked at him for a moment, before her shoulders slumped at the table. No, she was brooding, as Naruto didn't understand what was going on. "Tigers play with one another," she whispered. "It's a show of friendship." "We aren't tigers," said Naruto. "We're shinobis. We banter with one another. Or we plan contingency for bad stuff that might happen. That is what we do," he said. "Yeah, you're right," she murmured. "That's what we do, right?" "Yeah." "You feeling better?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "Let's eat." As Naruto started to eat, "You left some scroll in the office," she said, as Naruto froze at that. "I rolled them up and placed them on the shelf. How disorganized can you be?" "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "And even with cooking. What's this?" "It's slightly charred," she said. Wait, why was she being that picky with food? "And the vegetables, they're cut in wrong chunks," she said, as Naruto raised an eyebrow. There had to be a reason why she was finding everything wrong with the food. "It's decided," she said. "You can't cook. You better learn how to, because it's a good shinobi skill to have. They teach cooking in kunoichi classes, so I'll teach you how to cook," she said. "And my house is bigger than this apartment, and the fridge is full. So repayment for breakfast. We can eat lunch there," she said, as Naruto simply nodded and gave in. "Alright," she said, "we can invite Sai too, and then we can train on the scrolls and memorize them," she said. "You what?" said Naruto. "I memorize the scrolls," she said. "I always pass my exams before. I'm good at memorizing stuff." "I see," said Naruto. "Even yours," she said. "But you barely skimmed through it," said Naruto. "Well, while you were reading it, I was reading it as well. You weren't looking around, so I just peeped." "Really?" "Yep." As Naruto started to laugh, as that made her laugh as well. And truly, it was a wonderful moment of laughter, A pity, it would not last forever. 2 days afterwards, their team was standing in front of Jiraiya. He had returned from his scouting missions, and after reporting the Hokage, he had immediately rounded them up. Very well, do you know the elemental techniques that I asked you to learn? The 3 Chunins nodded at once, as Naruto stepped forward to demonstrate. It won't be needed, said Jiraiya, stopping him. We will be moving as a forced march until we reach a land of rice. Whatever happens, we must strive to avoid detection from the moment we step foot outside this village. You will never reveal yourself, and you will never break out of the shadows offered by the trees. Understood? Yes, Teiko, said Yujiro firmly. Very well, Jiraiya said. As he turned to leave, follow me. The 3 Chunins and their sensei moved. As they left Konoha and took to the trees, their first B-rank mission. Meanwhile, Sasuke, his back was against the wall of his house. The house that he shared with his parents and brother. The house that was now devoid of all life. Well, devoid of Uchiha's life. The Chunin that was assigned to make sure that he survived blindness was Hana Inuzaka. Apparently, since they rely on different senses, blindness was not really a big deal for, well, the Inuzakas. It was that or either the Abermis. And he didn't want a lot of bugs crawling around his house. He would just scratch too much, something that he didn't want at all. There were some talks about the dog will help with pet therapy, but he didn't know what kind of therapy those ugly mutts could provide. Really, he was doing this because he has no other choice. Hey, Uchiha. She sounds just like her annoying brother. Where is the food in here, she said. Third cupboard, he said, as he heard panting, as one of the dogs came up to him. The dog wanted Sasuke to pet him, as the dog started to push his head against his hand, but Sasuke refused. Inuzaka, can you take your mutt away from me? He's annoying. The dog whimpered, as he sounded sad, but Sasuke didn't like it one bit. Oh, come on, Uchiha, just pet him. You won't lose your hand, and it might make you a less of a stick in the mud. Sasuke grit his teeth. No, I won't, as the dog started to whine once again. Sasuke was sure that it was more than one. Then he will keep on trying. Come on, boy, don't sulk. I know that he's a frowning little bastard, but we can train him with a little squirt. Bottle, said Hana. Why don't you do so then, Sasuke said, in an angry snap. I was talking with the dog, Uchiha. Not everything revolves around him, you know? Sasuke just frowned. He would have glared at Inuzaka, but he didn't have his eyes to do so. You know what pisses me off? It's the way that you lost your eyes, Hana said. Really, how stupid do you have to be to believe in a stranger? Offering your power like that for no reason at all. How much of an imbecile do you have to be to say yes to that option? I would have gone to the Hokage. I would have questioned the Chunin. You didn't even ask your sensei. Just where's your loyalty to Konoha? Where are your bonds with your teammates? You're with Kiba. He wouldn't have been that stupid either. And he is stupid. Well, he is certified stupid. Actually, I think the only reason he passed the exams was because me and Mom drilled him. Mom and I, Sasuke said. Yeah, whatever. That was stupid. Stupid. And well, the Hokage could have left you alone, you know? But he did not, and he asked my mom for help. We could have said no. But if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna need to see some changes. Anything better than the... Please shut up. Let me die in a corner. That would be nice, something different from that. How would you feel if I would be angry, she said, as she cut him off. For the first years, I would probably swear revenge with everything I got. But there's a difference for planning for revenge and burning yourself up. And the first one usually leads to death, not avenging. Tuh. You will never know what I feel, said Sasuke. No, you're right. But it doesn't mean I can't try to understand it. Look, kid, she said. You're still young. You still have your life ahead of you. Find something else to do. You're Uchiha. You're filthy rich. And do it. I'm here as your over-glorified suicide guard and medical assistant. I offer how to teach you moving without eyes, but you shut me down. But I ain't asking you again. If you want to learn, you're gonna have to beg me for it, she said. Never. I did not ask for you. No. But people still care about you. People at the third, who takes care of you, even if you don't want him to. Your sensei come by daily to ask me how you are. Yet you just stay there and sulk. You don't even drink the water in a cup. Your dog licks it, said Sasuke. Because you leave it on the ground. Not my fault. There weren't any dogs here when I still had my eyes, Sasuke said. Oh, for the love of Kami, you're annoying. But I'm not leaving you, Hana said. Eventually you will have to. The Hokage's charity will end soon. You'll be surprised. What being an Uchiha means in Konoha. You're like nobility. There are people out there that has already donated to the Uchiha bank account to keep him alive. Probably you will live your rest of your life as a reproduction horse. But you'll get a big family out of it. And you're a dick, so I suppose it's fitting. Shut up, he said. Why? Because I'm not like the others kissing your ass. You're a hypocrite. You annoy those that worship you as your fangirls. Yet you ignore those who try to help you. You're a little ball of anger, and frankly it's not cute at all. You're just a whiny, stupid, idiotic boy. And to be frank, you're kind of ugly. Shut up! No. And you can't meet me because you can't even find me. Because you're too stupid to swallow your pride and learn how to walk without your eyes. Because you're that. A stupid, dumb, clueless idiot. Sasuke clenched his fists, his entire body shaking in rage. The Uchihas were better than the Inuzaka. He was worth 10 Inuzakas. I can swallow my pride when I want to. Yeah? Prove it. Sasuke lowered his head. I want to learn. Can't hear you. Teach me, damn it. Still can't hear you. He lowered his head. Please teach me how to live without my eyes, he snapped. Good. As he felt his hair ruffle from behind. She was behind him? Well, I'll help you out, she said. Meanwhile, Karen looked up in the sky. Why me? As one of Orochimaru's security prisoners spoke. Well, orders are orders. And with those words she marched inside, she freed all the lab rats to make them roam over the land of rice and destroy it. For what purpose she had no idea. But Orochimaru-sama will. Well, you had to follow it because if you disobey him, well, no one was that stupid. She wondered if she would ever see Naruto again though. He had been a brief fun in her life, even though she poisoned his teammates afterwards, as that made her wonder about life and death and rotten experiments. As she heard the creatures roar in rage and craziness. As she freed them all, time skip. The 5 shinobis dashed from tree to tree branch. At the head of the formation, Jiraiya looked back every now and then towards his team. Well, Naruto especially. The boy was somehow worried, really worried. Like he expected something bad to happen all of a sudden. He had been there, he was hiding, but he saw when the brat fought in the arena. Hey brat, Jiraiya said, as he saw those eyes that reminded him of Minato. And the pink-haired girl who seemed to take everything that he said as an insult or him trying to corrupt her teammates. Yes, Jiraiya-sama, said Naruto. Have you ever had the need to just scream, believe it? As Naruto's eyes twitched at that word, before they settled back down. No. Well, you're definitely like your father then. You even have the same eyes when you think about something moody. Planning to confess and get rejected. No, said Naruto. I'm not. Dickless as a harem, Sai said. He does need to confess he has this magnet that get the girls on him. Dickless magnetism. Nah, it's the eyes on here. Well, in his case, not the hair. He has beautiful eyes, Sai said. As everyone went deadly silent. I never said that. Understand? Pervert, Sakura scoffed. Extreme pervert. Yes, Cherry. No, kinky Cherry, Sai said. So what? I'm harem lord now, said Naruto. Well then, I am the super pervert, said Jiraiya. As Yuji remained quiet, she knew that this was a bonding. Even Anvo was going through this, to act as a perfect unit. As she had to bond with him as well. And I'm cat. Purple cat, she said. So then we're team pervert Cherry. Lord Super Cat, said Naruto. Lord Super Cat's a pervert Cherry, said Sakura. Lord Super Pervert loved the cat Cherry, said Sai. Jiraiya said. No, that's inspiration. Jiraiya-sama, said Eugeo. Don't. He said, as he mentally started to think about a new character in his new book. What would he call her? Uzuki. Jujo Uzuki. Not Eugeo, Jujo. The cat girl that loves to play with her master's brush. He's having lewd thoughts. Can I castrate him, asked Sakura. No, said Sai. There's 50 meters to torture someone, especially a male. There are only 44 without, well, their genital area. I don't even want to know how the hell you know that, said Sakura. But you know, I want to learn them, she said. Well, since you're asking, Sai said, the first method requires barbed wire and silence, Jiraiya said. As the 5 of them stopped on a tree, beneath them, as some strange people were beating down a merchant. The woman was screaming as these monsters started to rip apart their clothes. Send a message towards the local patrol, said Jiraiya as he whispered aside. They're 2 miles from here. Tell them. Red 5, orange 2. Sai complied. as he wrote the strange message down and sent it out so the eagle went off. "We move on," said Jiraiya. "Couldn't we?" "No. But we have our mission parameters. They are, it does not matter if they belong. If the hidden sound and one of them survived and went back, it will destroy our secrecy. They're going to rape that woman, and we're going to stand by and do nothing," said Sakura. "Sakura, we have our mission," said Yujiro. "But Sakura," said Naruto, "the patrol will arrive in time. We can't risk failing this mission." "We can't afford to hesitate," said Naruto. "The shinobi that cannot school his heart will die. Personally, I think that is crap. But the mission is important." "It's rather important," said Jiraiya. "Fine," Sakura said. "I just hope my parents made it back alive." "They will be fine," said Naruto. They're dead," said the Kyuubi. "I'm not listening to you. They're dead." "Why don't you tell her that?" "You're lying." And this conversation is over. As Naruto missed the lower branches, he had to grab the other one and swing himself back up. "Try and avoid falling, Naruto. If someone saw you, would have to silence them." "Sorry," said Naruto. The rest of the troop went by in silence, so they stopped to catch their breath for 5 minutes before they move on once more. As they were marching, so by the end of the third day, they were covered with leaf. They smelled like the entire forest. "I think Sakura is about to drop," said Yujiro. They went on for 3 days, with little rest. The average for Jonin is 2 weeks. "They can hold for another day," said Jiraiya. "Jiraiya-sama," said Yujiro. "Is there something in the mission scroll that I was not told?" she asked. "Affirmative. But you don't have the clearance for it." "I have envoy clearance. So it has to be an S-rank secret then," she said. "Perhaps, Cat-chan." As he giggled. "Oh, you naughty cat," he said. As the man started to giggle as blood started leaking from his nose, Yujiro raised an eyebrow. Was he daydreaming while running? No, he was probably trying to avert the conversation from going any further. That meant something was up. Sakura was sweating as she slowed down her position, as her hair was sticking to her face. "Sakura, you should take a soldier pill." "I can do this, Sensei," Sakura said. "I can do this. Being stubborn is not a sign of a good ninja. I'm your sensei, and your superior. Take a pill." Sakura grumbled a bit as she took one and bite it down. She stopped trembling a moment later, but her face started to show what she was thinking about it all. "Sakura, you're not weak because you took a pill first," said Yujiro. "Naruto has the Kyuubi and his stamina is off the chart. He can run around for 5 days without rest or sleep. And I saw him do it when he was a kid. When he was a kid, because I was assigned some time to keep an eye on him. So I can only imagine what he can do now. And Sai, he's got his own reasons. He's been trained since birth. If you had been in any other group of your peers, you'd have been the last one to take one. It's just circumstances. Don't take it to heart, understood?" "Yes, Sensei." "Good," said Yujiro. As she sped back up to get to Jiraiya, as Sakura took a breath. She could do this. Talking with Yujiro had made her remember something. "Naruto, can I ask you a question?" "Yeah." "Why did you change?" she asked. "Huh?" said Naruto as he didn't understand. "You were happy once. You jumped. You made the class laugh. But then you changed. Why?" Can we speak about it later?" he asked. "Will you answer me?" she said. "You won't run away again, right?" "I promise. I won't run away," he said. As she nodded as she turned her head forward. The Kyuubi had to be lying. How could her parents be dead? The Kyuubi could not know that he was the source of malice, not dead people. But maybe he felt the malice on Birkins, who attacked her family. They had 6 months of mission time if he told her. If she ever find out now, it would just... No, he couldn't. They finally came to a stop in the thick canopies, as the forest was growing thin out to the left, so they could enter the rice field. We paused for 4 hours, and we proceed once more. "Scatter and scavenge," said Jiraiya. As the group moved off, Sakura was the first one to return, a dead bird that had been flash cooked, a handful of mushroom, and a mouthful of herbs. Sai was the next one to return, with a fish and half a dozen eggs from a nearby bird nest. As Naruto was the last one to return after an hour had passed, as he came back with half a deer. "How?" said Sakura. "I kind of took it down and I got evidence all around. Had to destroy it," said Naruto. "Less chatting, more eating," said Sai. "Need to cook." There was a nod and bursts of fire and Naruto's cheer, the cooked deer afterwards. The 5 minutes stayed there and settled down. Sakura's eyes turned towards him. "Well," she said. As Naruto sighed. "Well, what?" he said. "No running." "No running," she said. "Alright. It's a long story." She swung her legs over the branch, as Naruto told her when he was hungry, and he first found Ichiraku ramen but he didn't have any money. But I am. And the old man invited him inside. He had prayed and wished that she hadn't found him. as she was wanting to see him and invite him inside after seeing him, soaked in rain. After that, a couple of years passed and I started the academy. And I started to pull my pranks, he said. I was gonna pull a big prank with a can of paint in my hand, and Tuki came from the corner and he saw me. It was kind of late, so he asked what I was doing out so late at night and that I should be in bed. I was happy that he was worried about me. The prank that I was gonna pull on the merchant, he had run me out of his store earlier, so I was gonna paint his house. And he saw me, even though I didn't pull the prank yet. He came over to me and hit me. Then Tuki got to intervene. He started to fight the man off and he threw Tuki back. And well, he fell down and then I saw red. I woke up in the hospital later on and they told me that Tuki died because he fell on the can of paint and broke his neck. The one I brought because I wanted to play a prank on someone. I killed him with my stupidity, said Naruto as tears streamed down his face. If only I wasn't pranking people. If only I avoided acting like a damn moron. I could have had a sort of family. I could have been happy. He chuckled to himself. As he remembered, the world is filled with madmen and monsters. And he was a monster. He doesn't deserve to be happy. Naruto-Sakura said softly, as she leaned back and placed her head right on his knees, looking up at him. You don't have to be sad now, she said. You have me inside, she said. I will not participate in a pity orgy for him, Sai said. You kinky cherry. If he's gonna come after me, he's gonna have to fight me to get me down, Sai said, as Sakura face turned red to be caught in this compromising position. As Naruto laughed, one day, I would like to know how your train of thoughts go. But I don't want to understand them because I think I'll go mad, said Naruto. A bit away from them, and this is why I will not let you take him on as an apprentice. Understand now, Jiraiya-sama. I'll speak with the old geezer once more. How is he even functional to begin with? Luck, I suppose. The masks in his story are the on-boot trainers. Sometimes they get the recruits straight from the orphanage. I know, Jiraiya said. There were so many orphans after the Kyuubi attack. And there was so little shinobi. As they heard his story in the first part, he spoke about the masked ninjas that came for the kids. But they thought that they were getting adopted, but Naruto never wanted to be taken by them because they looked so scary. I was taken that way, said Yujiro. The training was brutal. Really brutal. As Jiraiya pulled out his notepad, in the midst of their fear, Sakura had the strength to confess her love to Naruto, and their lips was about to make contact before a sword pierced right through his notepad. You will not write your smut about my students, said Yujiro, as she took the notepad and ripped it to shreds. Nico-chan, said Jiraiya. What? Never mind. He had his first lines all mesmerized in his head, and she was gonna be a good addition to his story. It was pure genius too, the title. Ichi Sextet Team Dynamics Extra Nico Edition. As the man smirked, thinking about his book, as the man started to leak from his nose once again. Jiraiya-sama, you're bleeding from your nose once again. Must I smack the impure thoughts out of your body? No, I'm fine, he said. Purified, pure like a baby, really. She made her way to stand guard as Jiraiya keep an eye on the three chunins. All three of them were sleeping now, but they were not completely asleep. Every 30 minutes they moved their eyes to wake up forcefully. It was to defocus if a sudden assault came, as Jiraiya just watched Naruto. After everything, that minute of sacrifice, this was the way that they treated him. That is why the third was fearing a possible defection from him. It was crazy how he hadn't tried to run away yet. The way the three of them slept though was rather cute, as a brown and green blanket was placed over them to hide their body into the foliage. As the girl was probably lying on Naruto's back, well, a portion of her. As Sai's head was resting on Naruto's shoulder, as the girl was leaning forward on Naruto. If only he had that much luck with Tsunade. As it made him wonder just what Tsunade was gonna do now. Now that the old man was incredibly pissed. Elsewhere, Tsunade was actually trembling as she read the pamphlet. They were standing in the room of the hotel where a credit was still worth something. The Senju compound will be demolished to make way to hot springs and tourist attraction. The cemetery will be emptied, the corpse burned to place a red light district in it. She ripped the pamphlet in half. Shizune, we're going back to Konoha. Sama, it might be a trap. The third Hokage. Sensei know that this is the only thing that will get me back there. But what is he gonna do? I'll go back, stomp him a bit around, and get him to stop. Hell, I'll probably even settle him with a few of my debts. After all, he probably just want to know if I met with Orochimaru or not. But Tsunade-sama, we didn't meet with him. Yes, said Tsunade. But Sensei doesn't know that for sure. Just let me do the talking, understood? If you say so, I'll come along. Very well. You said that you wanted to visit Konoha, right? You get your wish now. Well, I suppose she's what I said. Meanwhile, at the hidden rain, the body of Hanzo spoke to the root envoy that Danzo had sent. The root soldier had no idea that he was not talking to the leader of the hidden rain, but a corpse that was held up by chakra and techniques too dark to speak of. Danzo-sama would like to offer his help of fighting the shinobis of Orochimaru and his help with the elite man in the memory of the past dealing between Root and your leadership. I see, said Hanzo as he stand up from his iron throne. I wonder if you suddenly had the power to make right in your wrongdoings. Hanzo-sama, the Root said confused. Would you use that power for revenge? Or would you use it for forgiveness? I know what I would do with it, but I'm curious. Faceless ninja, what would you do with it? I would use that power in the name of Danzo-sama. I see, Hanzo said once more. As the Root felt blood fill in his mouth as he didn't see something rip into him. The poison started to tear apart his organs, leaving him nothing but an empty husk. He won't be missed, Sasori said. His boyish appearance was being hid by the puppet. I'll put his body to good use. As a wooden arm emerged from the puppet, the new poison worked perfectly too. The hidden rain, Hanzo said, has been the site of battles, too bloody to be forgotten, too bloody to be forgiven. I will not have battle come to the hidden rain. What should I tell Orochimaru? Tell him to begin. Tell him to go south. South? The stand has something. No. Further south then. Well, if you say so. Do I really have to bring the moron with me? The moron will be useful in more ways than one. Fine, Sasori said. But did Orochimaru get what I needed? He did. Now, go. Fine. As Sasori vanished with the corpse of the Root Onto, Nagato exhaled as he walked from the shadows, the Rinnegan shining within his eyes. Hanzo's body collapsed down to the ground. As Nagato sat down, as he closed his eyes as his chakra flew, as it connected, as the man opened his eyes and moved the bed sheet out of the way. The body was resting, but Nagato's mind was not. But the man stepped out of that clear sea. Boss, a boy said, we've convinced the villagers to leave. The bridge is ours now, chief. Gato nodded. It was ironic. After the first bridge builder died, his grandson had taken up the job to fully create it. Unfortunately for them, Gato had become Nagato's afterwards. He had let them build the bridge, he had let them build what they wanted, and then once it was over, he crushed them. After all, ants had no power against a god, and he was a god, almighty god, and soon he will have a body worthy of being called godlike. Then he will have peace. Through pain he will bring forth peace. Meanwhile, as Naruto felt something as he opened his eyes. Wake up, kid, said Jiraiya, we have to go. As they made their way through the long rice fields, as Sakura was a natural at moving through the forest like an animal. He heard his sensei said, murder uncle. She had to kill uncle. It made him understand that uncle was one that needed Sakura, so at least now he had a name. As Naruto had a hat on his head, as his face was all dirt like he was a farmer. The farmer that Sakura killed would have missed him. She had actually just jumped at the man from his back and ripped out his throat. She didn't even hesitate. The second time she did it, he just gave her a cloth. Wipe her mouth. Jiraiya looked at the drunken father, who had a bag on his back. Sai did not have a skin tone to pass off as a farmer, as Sakura and Sensei were out too. Since farmer wife remained at home, they didn't travel with her husband. So it was that as Naruto and Jiraiya started to walk, in plain view as the others hid, movement ahead said Yujiro, as she radioed. As Naruto saw a figure with orange hair dash forward fast. It was too fast to be a civilian. She had a dark blue hat in her head as she came to a stop in front of them. Jiraiya's hair was actually black now, and his hair seemed buzz cut. You too, the girl said. What are you doing here? Heading to the daimyo to plead to him, said Jiraiya as his voice came out drunken. He must do something. Those monsters. Those horrible monsters. Which era do you come from? Are there any survivors in your village? The girl asked, her voice sounding worried. That rubbed Naruto wrong. There had been no identify herself. Her tone was just sad, and she accepted. No, said Jiraiya, as he grabbed Naruto by his shoulder and pulled him closer to his chest. Me and my boy, we survived by running. It all just burned up. I want to save my precious wife, but hey, she was a nagging bitch all day long. He sniffled. My muya, he said. Alright, the Kunoichi said. The village of the sound is a few hours walk that way. When you go there, tell the guards, Sesame Fuma, vote for you, alright? She looked towards the little boy. Be quick, and get there before night comes. If you can't, then hide by digging a hole. There are things that go on at night, and they're not pretty at all. Thank you, said Jiraiya. Yeah, said Sesame. As she looked towards Naruto, Try and keep your father away from the stake in the village, understood? I'll do that, ma'am. The girl smiled. I'm Sesame. Sigh, Naruto replied. My junkin pops is Neto. Neto? She raised her eyebrow. She shrugged. Hope he can hold a weapon, she whispered. But Naruto heard what she said clearly. Jiraiya eyes returned back normal after she went off. Something's off. She was acting like she was in heat. Sakura radio over. The way she looked at Naruto. No banter on the radio. Used only code words. Orange bitch. Tried to make a pass on Lord, said Sakura. Better cat? Yes, said Yujiro. As Yujiro sighed. Radio silence unless Fubar. Cherry. Heading in with Lord alone. But Cherry. Quiet, said Pervert. As there was silence. As the two of them made their way as Sakura clenched her fist tight. As Naruto simply exhaled. They were entering the lair of the beast. What else could go wrong? He just jinked them, didn't he? Well, he should know better than running his mouth knowing that what he wanted never happens. And the opposite. The worst opposite always comes true. Time skip. The Sound Village was secretly underground. There was tall, wooden forces and pegs that surrounded the place. The stench of blood was in the air. The guards, their eyes, show a bit of panic as they saw the two. You two, identify yourself. Sesame Fuma said that we should come over here, said Naruto. Me, Pops and I, we're survivors from the monsters. My poor wife, Jiraiya cried. Yeah, anyway, we were going to die me, but you don't know, kid. A muscular guard with a giant sword in his back spoke. The daimyo is gone. We are all that remains of Ricefield country. Come on in, we're closing the gate for tonight already. As Naruto stepped forward with Jiraiya, as he was basically holding the man up, as he was acting rather drunk. As the wooden spikes came up, the man with the giant sword came down to meet them as he extended his hand. I'm Hanzaki, the head of the Fuma clan, he said. I am the new Sound Kage, but that's just a name now, he said. The monsters attacked your village. Were they winged? No, said Naruto. Thank Kami for some good graces, the tall man said, as Naruto saw the people around. It was nothing but despair. Many farmers had crude lances or old swords, but some of the young ones had kunais or scythes. They had never wielded a weapon and showed. Well, follow me inside and get you a spot. Food is the only thing not lacking around here, Hanzaki said. Food and rice steak, he said. Is it that bad, said Naruto. It's worse, said Hanzaki. One day the monsters, they just appeared. As he passed by a lot of tents. And well, we attacked them and they did not die. It was like they couldn't even feel pain or if they even care for their life. We stabbed them in the heart and they live. We tried to bash their skulls but they still live. We decapitate them but they still live. Well, that is if you can call that life, of course. And they're everywhere in Ricefield country, said Naruto in shock. That means outside the walls, the rest of the village. His friends were in danger. Yes and no, as a man knocked on two giant broad doors, the entrance toward the sound. They move at night, during the day they are catatonic. He nodded to the guards that opened the doors, as they started closing behind them. The corridors were wide, but women and children were huddled up against the walls. They held on to their daughter, son, their family. Tears dried upon their faces. There was pure desperation in the air. Hey Pops, what do we do now, said Naruto. We helped them, of course, said Jiraiya. Hanzaki smiled at that. You must be hungry, both of you, he said, as he nodded to one man in front of a giant metal door. The man opened the door, and three of them went inside. It was a dining room. Normally, it would be packed with many people eating, but crystals were all around. There is no way to keep people out of here otherwise, Hanzaki said. And we need to keep them away from Gorin-san as well. Otherwise, she can't concentrate. Naruto did not know who this Gorin was, but it seems that the sound was used by Orochimaru. And then once he lost purpose in them, he discarded them like nothing but trash. As the man then made his way and pulled out some rice cake and rice edgery. As I said before, food is not the problem, he said, as he gestured for them to sit down after breaking bread with them. We need soldiers, Hanzaki said. We're planning to leave and try our luck in Demon Country. They don't have much of a military. We can offer our service to them for exchange of protection. Orochimaru, the previous leader, he betrayed us. He betrayed all of us, said Hanzaki. That is why I'm pleading with you, Jiraiya-sama. Help us. As Naruto's eyes widened at that, as he jumped away and pulled out his weapon, as crystals came towards him, as he moved, as he slammed down one of the tables and used it as a shield. But the moment the crystal touched it, he started to crystallize. As Naruto brought his hand up to perform his wing technique. Stop! Jiraiya and Hanzaki said, as the crystal materialized into a woman with blue hair and a green coat. How did you know who I was? Jiraiya asked, as he looked at Hanzaki. Orochimaru was extremely paranoid when he came to you, the woman said. He had us learn all of your possible disguises and mannerism by heart. He also told us that you might come here in the near future. So when we saw old man and boy came here without any sign of malnutrition on them, you suspected, Jiraiya said, but you had no proof. The crystal on their ceilings has a light frequency. I can hear them vibrate whenever something electronic is in range, like a ninja radio. So you signaled him that we were shinobis and you took your chance, Jiraiya said. Very well. Indeed, I am the gallant, the great Jiraiya of the Sanin, as he strike a pose. Now what can I do for you, young lady? You'll find no luck with Gorin-san. You're too old for her taste, said Hanzaki. Gorin narrowed her eyes towards Hanzaki, who shrugged. I don't want to dispose of another crystal corpse, he said. As Jiraiya said nothing more, as Naruto frowned though, crystal corpse. In any case, we would like to leave for demon country if not us, at least the civilians who had done nothing to deserve this. Why not cross to the fire country? We are ex-Orochimaru loyalists, Hanzaki said. Do you really think that we'll be let go after delivering the information that Konoha wants? So it's an underneath the table exchange you want to make, Jiraiya said. Exactly, said Hanzaki. Gorin-san, could you bring Jiraiya-san apprentice out of here while we talk? He stays where I can see him, Jiraiya said. If that is a desire, Hanzaki said. Very well. What I want to talk about was, the doors were pushed open as a Chunin rushed inside. We're under attack, the monsters. Phone away inside. What? Said Hanzaki, as Gorin dashed out of the room. Her speed was intense. Naruto, assist them, said Jiraiya. Hanzaki, we can start the discussion after we deal with this problem, said Jiraiya. Of course, Hanzaki said. As Naruto followed Jiraiya outside, not seeing the simple, slammed his hand on the wall to create a small, red toe that went deeper into the castle. Jiraiya had a secondary mission after all. When they stepped outside, the tanks were on fire. As the people were fighting the overgrown muscle monsters, they stabbed them with their blades, but it wasn't affecting them. They gorged on the flesh of deceased, and then they burst apart into two separate creatures. What are those things? Said Naruto as Jiraiya spewed oil before spewing out fire, as the monsters screamed as they were ignited. Orochimaru experiments, Hanzaki yelled. This is why we need your help, Jiraiya-sama. As Jiraiya watched a monster, the burned skin started to crack and fall off as he saw the red skin underneath that started to regrow and reform. What do you do with them usually? Jiraiya asked, as Gorin froze it before smashing it to pieces as it was break up into tiny particle of crystal. That, Hanzaki said. But even Gorin can't take them all. A roar could be heard as the walls tremble, as Naruto expected to be coming face to face with the monster, not to see his teammate with a kunai in her mouth and two in her hand. Sakura did not know that they were trying to peace talk with the sound shinobis. She only knew that Naruto was inside the village and that he was in danger, as she blew up the entire wall with dozens of explosive tags as more monsters came in behind her. As Sakura moved and grabbed the neck of a sound shinobi before twisting the kunai in her mouth, as she sliced him, flipping over him as she smashed in the face of one of those monsters, and it burst like a ripe watermelon. She did not stop as Naruto went through hand sign as he spewed wind blades out of his mouth that rip apart several of the creatures. As Sakura back pressed up against his. Sakura, what are you doing? Said Naruto. As Naruto blocked the blade of a sound ninja, Hanzaki did not tell them that they were going to help them, that they were going to be on their side. And seeing them back to back with a Konoha ninja that killed one of their own, well, they thought they were the enemy. You were in danger. I'm a shinobi, he said as he pushed back the ninja and stabbed him right in the leg. The man screamed as he dropped down to the ground as Sakura crushed his throat. As one of those creatures appeared behind Sakura with an incline, smashed right into it. As a hail of shurikens fly by Sakura and Naruto, forcing the sound ninjas back. As Naruto went through several hand signs, releasing wind blades and fire that accompany it, as they ripped through shinobis and monsters alike. As Naruto ducked as a club went over his head, as he pulled Sai down, as Sai avoided the crushing monster and stabbed it right in the chest before flipping over it and pulling the kunai along. But the monster got back a moment after, as Naruto slammed a kick in his chest, knocking it away. As three kunai landed as Naruto was grabbed by Sai and pulled away as one of them exploded. As he used the momentum to spin both him and Sai, as Sai sliced through several of the monster's throats, spinning with the kunai around. As Sakura dropped down, as she flipped on their shoulder, using the momentum to come down and slice one of the monsters clean in half. As Naruto was starting to feel something enjoyable, but then something slammed right into him and threw him away as he landed painfully in the barbed wire that ripped into his flesh as his head hit up against the side of the wall. As he saw blood, Naruto, Naruto, as he heard someone call out his name, he could feel the Kyuubi laughing. He could feel the rotten corpse of the Ichibai rising up from the steel as he saw massive bone lines coming down towards him as a pink blur flashed in front of him. You won't get him. You won't take him from me. No, she was gonna get hurt. Get away from her. Get away from my teammate, he screamed as a sand arm emerged. A sand arm was built in front of him and grabbed the experiment and tore it to pieces. As Naruto felt tired, his vision was hazy and his eyes, blood were in his eyes. Naruto! Naruto, the voice screamed. Stay with me. You can't fall asleep now, as her hands held onto his face. Stay with me, she said, as Naruto felt darkness. When he woke up, he was in a pitch black darkness, but then he was hit in the chest. But it did not hurt, a golden chain that pushed him upwards. A second chain appeared and plunged into his stomach, without hurting him. As he heard voices, the sage was just a fairy tale. You are a demon, and you will not take my son. The daimyo is not a sinner, nor is he wicked. No one's gonna listen to you, demon. Get out of here. Monster, prepare the archers. Take the demon down. Why were they fighting him? He was telling them what was going on. He was telling them that he was helping these damn people, and yet they fought him over and over again. The sage had given him a job, and yet they fight him. They stand in his way. They attacked him. They tried to kill him. I am the Kyuubi, the bearer of humanity hatred. Why, Father? Why must I be in this form? Why do I have to do this? What have they done? Where's my brothers? Foul beasts, a female voice called out. She had red hair that was tied up in 2 buns. You have destroyed the life of hundreds for long enough. I was done what I was tasked by the sage himself. You stupid human. Things you will never understand. He charged at her as she charged back. A third golden chain pulled Naruto up. Kurama was then assaulted as hundreds of chains wrapped him and pierced him. He was shackled, he was chained, he was torn. They tried to use him, but they could not. They had to seal him away in a single container. As he was whole again, after the chains had mercilessly torn into his flesh, he was stuck. You will no longer use your power, because only hatred will come from it. Stay quiet inside of me. Then you will seal inside of another. And she also didn't listen to him. As Naruto fell and dropped out of the Kyuubi's mouth, the beast had tried to eat him. That is why he was being pulled up. As he dropped outside the cage, there was a female standing there, as she held the fox mouth open with chains, as more gates came out from the ceiling and crashed down in the fox. The chains then wrapped around Kurama's mouth, closing it. As Naruto watched Ichibai corpse burning, the chakra burst and moved towards submerge inside the prison where the Kyuubi was. Well, I suppose presentations are in order, great-grandson, she said, as her eyes were directly on Naruto. As Naruto did not know who this woman was, but she gave him a soft, gentle smile. My name is Mito Uzumaki, as she smiled at him. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification so you posted. But I'm over for now. See you guys soon. Peace.